before you ball, because we'll flip and money jingle jangles and screams.
Buffie Purselle, untimely.
Hey y'all, how are you today? I put on some BB cream and some lipstick and I tried to do my brows for y'all today. So I wouldn't look totally scary. All right, let me go to these comments, see where everybody's at. It looks like one person. Hey, I appreciate one. I did just say this at the last minute. Y'all know how I do. You have to set the notifications. Oh, it's 21. Okay. Y'all know I just set notifications because I wake up and have some time. I really was planning on doing this. Y'all see I'm holding my crystal, so that means I'm anxious. I was planning on doing this tomorrow, which is the anniversary of my Aunt Dee Dee's death, 10 years. But it is also the birthday of her daughter. And so I wanted to start a new tradition of not discussing her death on Leslie's birthday. In the past, I did it by just doing a post and a statement about her life on my social media. And if you were to ever look back, I've done it for 10 years and my family always appreciates, because, you know, it never gets easier. It's been 10 years, but it never gets easier. And, you know, she's survived by two beautiful children, one of which is her son, Terrence, who, well, I'll tell you about Dede and then I'll tell you about her kids. And then we're going to talk about maternal morbidity, maternal mortality rates in women of color and why they're disproportionately higher than that of white women in the United States. I'd like, if you are up to it, for you to share some of your stories of if you've dealt with these problems with physicians as being a woman of color and, you know, complaining of pain or issues and being dismissed. And you feel that it's due to racism. You know, there's this notion that, oh, my mom's here. Hey, Mom. It's my mommy. Mommy, you can call in if you're strong enough to do so and talk about her. If not, I got it. I just put the link in the chat. I thought it was 10 this year, Mommy. It's 10. Leslie's not 10. So I got it wrong. It's 10. It's 9. But she was a beautiful person. Like, you know how people always say, God take the good people, the angels, off of this hellish earth. When I tell you that, okay, so my Aunt Dede was only 5 years older than me. Beautiful. This is her. It's a picture of her. Beautiful outside and inside. Hi, y'all. And she, you know, my grandmother had her when she was later in advanced age. She was in her 40s. And so Dede spent a lot of time with us. So my mom was like Dede's second mom. And Dede was like my sister. I grew up with her like she was a big sister, not really my aunt. And but I did call her Aunt Dede because we're Southern. And thank you, Mommy. I got the year wrong. And so she was never really like an aunt to me, even though she did spank me occasionally when I was younger. But she just was a blessing of a person. Just woke up every day happy, smiling. You would never know if something was wrong with her. She was the type of person that would call you just to see how you're doing. Now, some people call you and they're like, how you doing? And then they do an ask. Dede never did that. She was huge on birthdays and like remembered everybody's birthday, and just wonderful person. But Dee Dee was pregnant with her second child, and she great shape, like not over, like none of the stereotypes that people try to say when someone dies due to pregnancy complications. She had been complaining to her physician, which happened to be a Black physician woman, of pain and headaches, and she'd been going back and forth, and they really weren't addressing her issues. And the day before she passed, she went to the doctor, and we didn't know this, the family didn't notice, but her blood pressure was like through the roof, and they sent her home. Like, who sends like a 7-8 month pregnant woman whose blood pressure is sky high home? They sent her home, dismissed her complaints. And I remember talking to her that night. She said she had a bad headache, and I said, she didn't tell me what her blood pressure was, because I would have told Dave and she would have been admitted to emergency room. But she, there was somebody that died in our family, and I know there was a funeral the next day, and I said, you better not be at that funeral. She said, no, I'm gonna stay home and stay in bed. And then I remember getting a call the next day, and she had been rushed to the emergency room, and she subsequently passed due to complications of eclampsia. She had a massive stroke, and they took the baby, and we are blessed to have little Leslie with us to this day. And she looks just like her mommy and is a happy beam of light like her mommy. And her son Terrence, who is a young man now, looks exactly like her. It is a little beam of light just like her, and both her kids are wicked smart and loving, happy human beings. Terrence was then adopted by my parents because he didn't have really a relationship with his father. My mother and my dad adopted him, and he finished high school with them. And then after high school, he came to Atlanta, and he lived with Uncle Dave and Aunt Buffy, even though we're cousins, but because he's younger and we're Southern, everybody always calls Aunt. He lived with us, and now he lives on his own, and he's going into the military, and we're very proud of him. And Leslie is thriving now and smart, happy, plays sports, and got a laptop for Christmas from us and from the family, and is a cheerleader and just gorgeous. And we will never get over that loss. It's not possible. But I want to honor her every year in her life by discussing this very serious issue. So a lot of people don't realize how dangerous childbirth is, and really BTV hit the nail on the head. Movies and TV make it seem like it's so easy, and it's not. And losing somebody in childbirth and then there's a baby thereafter is gut-wrenching. Two babies, a son and a baby, and difficult to manage and figure out. I'm saying a lot because it's still hard to talk about her and see her. I don't say a lot, don't really. And I'm trying my darndest not to cry because she just was wonderful. And the doctors didn't listen to her, and they didn't believe her. So why is it that Black women and Hispanic women die at a rate of 3.2 times higher rates than white women? It's like something like, I think white women, I think it's 11.8%. No, 14% of white women die due to pregnancy-related complications, 11.8% of Hispanic women, and 37% of Black women. Why? Doesn't make sense. And, there are lots of articles out there, and I've whenever I post about it, a lot of women share their stories, and I'm hoping that some are able to do so today. But, it's always the story of the doctor didn't believe me. They thought I was trying to call off of work. They thought that I was making it up. There are these crazy and strange notions that Black women are somehow superhuman, or women of color are somehow superhuman, and that we don't have the same pain as others. And so if we complain about pain, then we're just putting on, it has to be a ruse. And it's causing people their lives. Kim Nicole shares that she had to explain why she needed pain meds during her delivery. That's unbelievable. They say the lack of care many can't get. So, QT Pi 7, yes, but you know what? This is my thing about, they say we wait till the last minute to go to the doctor when something's wrong. But it's a history of us being shamed for showing emotion or pain or being in pain. It's like this whole thing built into being a Black woman, that we are not allowed to be human. And it's within the healthcare industry. It's within our culture. And we have to stop it. Like, we don't have to be, like, you don't have to be a superhuman. Like, if you're in pain, you need to say you're in pain. And people not look down on you because you're saying that, or fear retribution because you deigned to complain. We've got to stop that. But yes, QT Pi 7, I've read that also. I never knew about those myths about Black women in pain until recently. It really is sad. It is. There have been some articles coming out recently, and during the Black Lives Matter big movement this past year, it was, brought out that, when Black women had surgeries or went to the OBGYNs, they would do stuff on surgeries on us and practice on us and not give us any medication at all. One of the reasons that the opioid epidemic is so bad in the white population is because when white men and women go to doctors historically and complain that they're in pain, they just write them a prescription. But when we go, they say, oh, just take some Tylenol, you'll be all right. And so what's happened is them just writing out them scripts that have gotten them hooked on these drugs. And that's why now everybody's so worried about that. Medical business is a business. It's not about saving lives anymore. I hope that's not true, Nikki Pooh. But you know what? The way things are going, never know. I never knew how many of us were affected by these unfortunate situations until I started volunteering for March of Dimes, losing their lives and sometimes babies too. It's a very good nonprofit. Even if you get there early, they still won't say you don't need pain meds. Yeah, they won't. Happen to many people I know. Both Beyonce and Serena Williams had similar issues despite their fame. Well, they're Black women. So in the end, nobody cares how much money you have or how successful you are. In the end, you're a Black woman. And so therefore you don't have the right to complain about pain. You should be superhuman. I can only imagine how they tried to treat Serena, given that she's an athlete. Let's see. Our clinical algorithms include race, even though race is a social construct and not a biological construct. So correct. There are books that basically say how to treat Black people differently than other races. And that's crazy. It's absolutely insane. It's all based on stereotypes. Every time I go to the doctors for pain for a cyst or anything else, they always give me Motrin. I had a cyst burst and they tried to give me Motrin. Shaking my head. That's crazy. I have a horrific emergency room story, and I wasn't pregnant, but they didn't believe me about how much pain I was in. They tested me like I was a crack addict. That's the other thing. We are guilty because of the way we look. So it can't be that biologically you have some pain. It's got to be some other variable. It's got to be something else. It can't be that you're a human being that is in pain and in need of medical treatment. It's truly unfortunate. I read a great book that outlined the history of this myth. It goes back to slavery. It talked about the medical experience done on Black slaves. Yeah. Horrible. And no medicine given, like no pain meds. So this is where they get that myth from, that we can take it. Just crazy. They don't listen to us. I had to tell them something was wrong. They still didn't believe me. 30 minutes later, they checked and I had to be rushed to the emergency room for a C-section. And it was crazy. It happens every day. And then imagine, so like my aunt lived in a very small town. And so it's this small town where there's not that much access to doctors. And so all the people going to go to, you go, Black folk, like, I'm going to go to the Black doctor. And I'm not bashing Black doctors, but I want y'all to know it is not just white doctors. That is an important thing to say, because a lot of time Black doctors get on their high horses and they say that it's just the white doctors, and it's not. It's across the board. And shame on them all. Oh, wow. Thank you, Brian. How do I put that up, Brian? How do I put what's that? I got a super chat. Wow, it's my first super chat. Brian, I don't know how to put it up, but thank you, Brian Ponder, for my first super chat. Okay, here's a nurse. I had a nurse refuse pain meds with my second birth because I thought I had to pee, but it ended up being my baby pressing on my bladder. I couldn't go on my bedpan. And like, how does that, I want somebody to call so I can like ask you, because I haven't experienced childbirth. How does that make you feel? You in pain. And the people that are charged to help you are telling you basically to suck it up. Like, I couldn't imagine being terrified, even if it is your second baby. It's still a terrifying experience for them not to help you. Like, I don't know. Do you have hope that this will change? Do you have hope that the insurrection happening and people are calling for accountability, things will get better? I do. I always try to look for the positive and the good side of things. I was not always like that. I used to be a pessimist, and I did it as a protection mechanism because I'm anxious by nature. But when we lost Dede, I vowed that I would embody her happiness. And so every day I do whatever I can to smile and laugh and look on the bright side of things. And I think, given that we have total control in Congress and in the White House, and Kamala Harris is there, and, I think the world is looking at America like, y'all need to get it together, that hopefully some things have to change. Hold on 1 second. Mabel shared a story. I had to go and get the doctor when my daughter was in labor and the heartbeat kept dropping. They tried to say it was nothing. I went out and pulled the doctor in, and she could have lost her grandchild. So many, and that's horrible, Mabel. Thank you for sharing that. You got to go tell them to bring their behinds in and do their job because they don't believe you. Crazy. Because of stereotypes. Miss Noah, all you, the nurse suggested a catheter, and I told her I was scared of it hurting, and she told me it's no worse than giving childbirth. No empathy, no bedside manner. I almost delivered my third child in the hospital lobby because they wanted to complete the registration process. Thank you for sharing _pink. Just, don't you think if somebody in labor, you should rush them back? It's mind boggling to me. The stories. I don't understand. Anyone, if you have issues and do not feel listened to, ask for, I can't pronounce it. Also use your phones and just record. That way there is proof. It's sad resort. And some of these hospitals don't, I know Northside don't let you bring you can't have no phone, no cell phone. And it's probably that very reason, but I agree, get proof. My mom said she was in pain and the doctor told her that she was just fat. I've heard that. So she went to the ER, and for 12 hours, they told her she was fat and needed to lose weight. How horrible. How absolutely horrible. As if that's the only answer. As if that's the only answer. Horrible. We got somebody calling. Great. Unfortunately, in the state of Georgia, we have counties without an OBGYN. So lack of access is a huge issue for pregnancy-related deaths. Thank you for clarifying that point for me. That's true. But why so much for Black women than white? Explain. I want to know, and that is a good point. But if the numbers were even across the board, that would make sense. But why so much higher for people of color is what I want to know. I'm going to bring Alicia in.
Hi, Buffy. How are you?
Okay.
I have jumped on here without my face on, meaning no eyebrows, nothing. Robe on.
I got a robe on.
I know, but this conversation is so important, and thank you so much for bringing it forward. I'm prior military for over 30 years. I was in Germany, thank you, with my first daughter. And
where in Germany?
I was in Würzburg.
I'm a military brat. We lived in Munich.
Okay, look, we went to party up there in Munich, and was it Munich near Frankfurt? Was it near there?
I don't think so. I don't.
Look, we were all over the state, more so with military duties, you know what I mean? So some of it kind of, but when I was pregnant with my daughter, and after I had a C-section, and they had gotten scared, they wanted a C-section on their belt, right? And so literally after the C-section, I just started experiencing constant pain. And my daughter's father, we weren't married. We both had, actually, this wasn't injury, but we both left from Germany and went to Washington State, and it was on the base. And so literally I was like, okay, I'm having pain. I'm having pain. I'm like, it's constant. It's not stopping.
Right.
And literally I had to yell at him and yell at the nurse to do something about it. But what I learned over time, that sometimes us as African Americans, we disenfranchise ourselves with, is that, you know how when you feeling bad that day and you're feeling bad at your worst point, but by the time you go to the doctor, you're minimizing your symptoms.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Well, I had to learn. I had to literally learn over that military time that you have to express every single thing you felt at your worst moment, even if you're not feeling that way at that moment, because they have to know. And see, that takes me back to when I was mentioning about in Germany. I threw up, and I threw up a little bit of blood. And my roommate, Caucasian, redhead, Caucasian girl, virgin, 30 years old, right? But she was like, tell him everything, tell him everything. And I was sitting there like, no. When they finally, after I cried and boo-hooed for about 45 minutes so they could jug that dang on straw down my nose, blood just started filling out through it. And I had a ulcer. But if I hadn't been convinced by her to express everything that I was going through, they would have minimized it. They would have looked the other way. It could have just gotten worse and worse. And, time and time again, what I learned over my military time is that, especially military doctors, they'll put those captains in there, and half of them don't know anything. You have to remember, you have to literally be insistent. And like I said, remember the worst moments. Even if you're not feeling like that when you go into the doctor, express all of that. Don't leave anything out. And then be prepared. Start Googling stuff. What should I be looking for? What should I ask the doctor? And go in with a plan.
Yeah.
Just a couple of years ago, we were doing our little PT time in the Air Force. See, I was in the Army back then, but I ended up getting out in 2017 out of the Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a little calf pain where I strained it. We were playing volleyball for our PT time.
Mm-hmm.
Went to the emergency room. The doctor didn't even want to give me any Motrin, talking about, oh, that is, that because of the opioid, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
that he didn't want to prescribe. I said, you better give me something before I
Right.
walk up out this thing. I can't even put any pressure on this leg whatsoever.
Right.
But it was a Caucasian man trying to challenge me because I'm a Black person, and he thought I didn't know anything. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what you got to do. I don't even care who it is, because you do get people, African Americans or other minorities, that will go along with the head doctor, just because they don't want to, stir up anything or say, listen to the patient or anything. They
Right.
don't
Which
want to
is what
be
people need to do.
insubordinate or disrespectful.
Right.
So you really, really have to I can't emphasize it enough. Emphasize those, every single thing of those worst points and moments when you get into that doctor. Don't not express those things because you don't feel that way. Express everything that you felt as if you're feeling it right then at that point, and then be ready to say, I'm not going until you do. Okay, well, what
Right.
are you going to do? Well, what
Yeah.
are you going
Right.
to do? And make sure they diagnose it. Make
Mm-hmm.
sure they diagnose everything, because that's just as real too. Because when you're young, you don't think about that mess. But look, I'm 51,
Come on.
and
Come on,
look,
Vivian.
thank you, Jesus. But look, when I got out the military, when I tell you, they go back in your records. And even when you're trying to apply for state disability, you want to
Mhm.
know everything that you're diagnosed with, because they will not put that on your paperwork. They will try to act like, oh, this is just a female, this age, this weight, come in complaining about this. When you get to reading your records, you got to make sure you even read your record. Doctor, can I see my file? You
You
have the right
you saying
to
so much,
read
honey.
that.
You saying so much,
And
man.
and you, yeah, because it's so
It's a
important.
setup.
We
Mhm.
have to take charge, because
Yeah.
so many times, you have where these doctors, they don't, they're seeing so many patients, like the person said, um they don't care about healing anymore. Well, they really don't have time to care. Even some of them that might care a little bit, they really don't have time to care. They have to get you in, get you out. Even the supposedly number one medical
Child, them
care,
the
as
ones that
far as federal,
right.
is supposed to have been good. They rush us right on out the door like they do everyone else. And you have to demand your time. You have to demand what they're going to do about it. You have to, even like I said, start going in with the plan, saying, hey, well, what are you going to do? What, you know give me something, well, and even talk to people, talk to other people. People want to think that they're in on an island by themselves,
Not
and
right.
that there are so many people that, okay, I had a gallbladder eruption on a cruise ship. I had been complaining about it for 7 months, from an Asian doctor. An Asian doctor took all kind of blood work, everything, didn't ever diagnose it. Got on the cruise. Thankfully, me and my husband enjoyed the first 5 days. But the fifth day, I had an attack where I was just throwing up constantly. No soon as I went to the infirmary, they stated, oh, you that's your gallbladder. Now, I have been going to this doctor for 7 months.
And they just was like,
Couldn't
you guys,
they?
what's wrong with you? Ugh.
And but yeah, these people, and even in soon as I got to Fort Lauderdale, went right there to the doctor, and they was like, yeah, is this, before they showed the big old 3D. They started 3D down there in Miami, as far as the ultrasound, where it showed it was inflamed. And it was like, really, and see, but that speaks to where they don't listen, they don't know, they don't have time to figure a lot of things out. And But as soon as I got back, a practitioner friend from my church mentioned to me, "Oh, you had these symptoms, didn't you? Oh, you were." And I'm sitting there like, it seemed like every person after that was telling me. But what I should have did at the time is start asking people and start talking to people. You know what? I've
But you
been
know what? You know
dealing
what?
with this.
But you know what, Alicia? I don't like that. You know why? Because why
Why?
do we have to do that when we paying these damn doctors? You get what I'm saying? Like if this, and I get what you're saying, and you raised some great points, and I agree with you 100%. When you start experiencing, I keep a journal because I have lupus, so I'm sick a lot, right? And it took
Mm-hmm.
them 3 years to diagnose me with lupus. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you just fat, or you just this, or you just like they didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Always something else. Well, why my hair falling out? Well, why, I used to have all this energy and I can't do it. They were like, you fine, ain't nothing wrong with you. It's all in your head, psychosomatic,
Mm-hmm.
blah, 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 blah. And I had to be in a full-on flare hospitalized for them to acknowledge and really check to see that I had lupus.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I keep a journal every time I have problems, so that, because when you get in front of a doctor, people do experience that white coat syndrome where you're
Yes.
intimidated in that environment.
Yes.
If you're also not feeling well, you can't really recall all the stuff.
Exactly. And that is so important. I use the notes on my phone even
Perfect.
today.
Yeah.
Even today. Right now, I go to a menopause doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I've been taking this medication that's not been covered by my regular medical care, right? And so here, Monday, I started feeling a lot of hot flash. Now I'm paying for 3 different medications, and it's like $1,000 an appointment, right?
Right.
It's like, what the world is going on?
Right.
But you best believe I'm writing things down now. Now I know there ain't that much talk or experience, even though I teach a fitness class and I talk to some of those ladies, or even at the gym, or even at my church, and I'll talk, and not too many people will go to the specialty care for menopause. They tend to just deal with it. So I don't have a
I
lot
ain't
of
dealing with it.
experience, but
Okay,
I
when I
write
have it,
it
I'm
down.
gonna help.
Exactly. So, but I've always been like that. I got to where I was like that because I was a very quiet, subdued type person.
And you're a black woman. At least you're a black
From Oklahoma. Didn't think I had a voice, but no soon as I kept experiencing those same things where I'm like, okay, hold up, wait a minute, closed mouth don't get fed.
Correct.
I start, wait a minute, hello. And then that friend of mine who said, no, you mentioned this. Remember when this happened? Remember this. Tell them all of that. So you have to literally, and so when I network just to find out information.
I mean, that's good, but I'm just saying, I don't think you should take it all on yourself saying you should have done X, Y, and Z.
Oh, yeah,
The doctors are charged with our care. That's their job. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right before I got out, there was one doctor. I needed a test done for a certain job that I was being offered. The doctor was like, well, you have this test from last year, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, ma'am. So basically, she was basically refusing. Guess what? I went up to, I went ahead, went back to work. Come to find out, I received the paperwork that said, you need this test done. Now, I already requested this from the lady. It wasn't a requirement that I showed documentation that the blood work was requested. It was because I requested that I was supposed to get that service. I took it all the way up to the patient services person, and they dealt with her.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you wasting my doggone time.
Right.
I work in HR. I'm in leadership. I have no time to be wasting coming back and forth doing something. I said, so this is 3 weeks wasted. And she got dealt with. So you can do that too when you feel like you're not being heard. Reach out to patient services.
Yeah. Well,
because that's important too.
Alicia, thank you so much for
Thank you so much, Buffy. I love you. I love your you with all about the tea. I love that. I love you with the when you're talking about the money.
Where that's coming.
Crawl before you ball. I am such a money manager. So I had questions about that. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that with you and Monique. right?
Oh, yeah. We did the show.
And
It's Weird Wednesday. You should
I,
catch it.
I already did. I caught it. I
Cool.
just felt like, because I caught I went on the podcast and then had to circle back around to the YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But I want more hands-on, because it's like I be having questions and you be willing to answer.
Yeah, I'm doing one on Sunday. Not with Monique.
Yay!
I'm doing one on Sunday at 3 p.m. It's pandemic resources, but I'll answer any questions. It doesn't matter. So come through Sunday.
I will be there, and I will drag people with me. I've been forwarding your information out to different people and everything. I appreciate you. Sorry for taking so much time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. She was so lovely to share all that. Terry, so wait, Alicia made another good point that I didn't get to say before I go on to some of your comments. And then I saw Nicole, you came through a couple times in the back room. Come back through and I'll bring you on live. She said, take notes, but then she also talked about the fact that, historically we minimize our symptoms. My mom is the queen of that. I'll ask her how she's doing, and she's like, she's fine. And I'm like, Mom, you're not fine. Like, you never moping, you never, like, my mom's so, like, there's no way. And like, it took a long time for us to even figure out that my mom had this rare form of cervical cancer. And if she wasn't with, I think she's doing something right now. I would love for her to share a story, but my mom almost died because the doctors didn't listen to her, didn't test her properly. I had to make her come to Atlanta, to one of the top doctors in Atlanta, for them to find that my mom had this fibroid. And thank God for the fibroid. It had covered the cancer. It stopped it, it encased the cancer so that it couldn't spread to her body. Mabel's come through. I'm gonna bring her on in 1 second. But Terry B said, I was high risk pregnancy with fibroids and had pain throughout. Went to hospital ER when I couldn't take it anymore, but they didn't believe me until they saw me go into seizure and gagging. That's just so and this is so what do they get in trouble for this stuff? Like in the case of my aunt, yeah, my family had a wrongful death suit, but nobody cares about that money. We would rather have her back. Like, is there any accountability for these doctors? Like, I couldn't imagine going through that at all. Hey, Mabel.
Hey, hold on. I got to turn my camera right. Okay, there we go.
I hear myself.
I kind of wanted to clarify about the situation with my daughter. So now, as you can tell, I'm a white woman. All my children are mixed, which means they're black, because you know the rules. You gotta look. Well, people assume I'm black. I don't know where that comes from, but what happened was, now I've had 8 children. I know you know that story.
Yeah,
I have 8 children. Blessed to have them, even though they drive me freaking crazy. The difference is, when I went in with having my children, it was never a problem for pain medication, epidural, ice, water, juice. I mean, you can't eat when you're in active labor. I don't know why that is. I go in with my daughter. Now, this is the first time I'm having a grandchild. I know what the heart monitor is supposed to look like. The baby's heartbeat isn't supposed to go on a particular thing. I'm not a doctor, but I know you get educated. I tell the nurse, she's like, well, she was probably just moving. Don't worry about it. And it continued to happen. I literally took my ass out there, and I was a Karen that day. I'm sorry, y'all. I started screaming and saying, I need a doctor now. This is her first child. They're like, the doctor comes in. Dr. Bob Monty, little I love her to this day, still love her. She comes in and she's like, oh no, we need to do an emergency C-section right now. This is not normal. Mm-hmm. But I shouldn't have had to do that. And I fully believe if I hadn't been there, because my daughter, she was young, she was 20. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't have said anything. And when they look at her, they saw a black woman. Mm-hmm. And the only reason they came in was because I went in there and dragged them out. I saw somebody else's mother. I'm like, y'all need help. You need to do something. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be that way. But no one should have to beg for help. No one. I don't care if you're black, white, purple, green, can't speak a lick of English. That's not okay. And you're right about the pain thing, because I do that all the time. I literally ended up with pneumonia and the flu at the same time and almost died. And I'm like, I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm perfectly fine. I'm good. My daughter was like, if you don't go, I'm going to call the ambulance. I know in the Black community, it's definitely an issue, but as women, it's an issue too, because we're supposed to be strong and powerful. And I can't, I got to take care of these kids. I got to go to work. I got to make supper. We make allowances for why we don't take care of ourselves. Then sometimes by the time we go in, it's so much worse than it was. And like Alicia said, you forget because you're not in that pain anymore. Like, oh, it's not that bad no more.
Yeah.
I mean, I went in there talking about, I can't breathe.
And because you don't want to, you can't hear myself, but you don't want to believe that you're in pain. You want to be.
Exactly. And people, and then I maybe it's just me, but I don't like to admit that, that I'm in pain. I'll be like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. And we'll be struggling with it. I can go in and get any kind of pain medication I want. It's true. But let me take my daughter in, and they told her no. Yeah, they literally told her no. They're like, you know what? This is what we want you to do. We want you to alternate with some ibuprofen and that. And I'm like, but I go in with the same symptoms 2 days later, and guess what? I got Vicodin, Percocet. I had them all, and I didn't need them, but they're gonna give them to me though, because they assume I don't have a drug problem. You don't know who I am, right? I could be the biggest drug dealer. You know what I'm saying? They look at people, they minimize what you have, and Alicia was right about another thing. They don't have the time to take care of you. When you go to see a doctor, your regular doctor, your primary physician, I think that's what we call them. They should be taking the time, but they're not. They're seeing you in and out in 10 minutes. How do you know what happened to me in and out in 10 minutes?
You can't. It's not possible.
So, and I think people forget about that. And I believe that it's always been a problem. I just believe because now people are speaking out about it is why we're hearing about it. Do you know what I'm saying? This is not the first time. Oh, thank you, Miss P, for saying I'm not a Karen.
We know
that made me feel good. But I think that I've told this before. Before I had Black children, I didn't realize I got special treatment. I didn't really realize that until I was in a car with my son one day and he got pulled over because he was Black. I didn't realize the difference because to me, I lived in a bubble like everything's perfect and the world's wonderful. But I grew up in a small town too. And that's what I was taught. And I realized that's not the way of the world anymore. And then with what's going on now, you can't even afford healthcare.
No.
You can't get it. You have to beg these people to give you what you need. Doctors, nurses, and sometimes the nurses know more than the doctors.
Oh, nurses
because they're the ones that spend time hearing what's going on with you. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're the ones checking on you.
So it's just don't even know how to give you an IV. The nurses do.
They don't. I'm like, didn't you go to school for this? Like for 85 years? And you get and a lot of them don't get paid a lot of money.
A nurse practitioner is who diagnosed me with lupus, actually.
That's crazy. I mean, not crazy bad, but like that's crazy. And the doctors are so demeaning to nurses. Yeah, like she's just a nurse. Yep. She might just be a nurse, but guess what? She diagnosed me. It's crazy to me. Right. And I think people sometimes forget that. And you do have to fight for what you feel. I had to take my daughter in, my youngest one that I talk about a lot. She's 15. She said hi. She waving at you. She's so goofy. She just helped me. She said hi. She's happy. But I had to take her in, and they're like, her doctor, and I'm blessed. The doctor that she sees, the first visit we had, we were there an hour. She was asking her everything. Are you sexually active? Do you think you need birth control? How are your periods? Things like that. But that's stuff that she needs to know. Right. Because if you don't, we found out she's diabetic. We found out she had a vitamin D deficiency. I would not have known that.
Yeah,
but
man. That's a good topic, though. The vitamin D deficiency.
I don't think that would have happened either.
Right. Yeah. A lot of Black people have a vitamin D deficiency, and we need to look into why.
So we literally sit outside every day for an hour because she told me that was a good way to get it because we were on lockdown at the time. So we were inside all the time. And I'm like, I'm not going to take my child out and have her sick. It's just, but this doctor is actually, she followed up after that. She checks on her periodically. We're blessed to have a good doctor in that aspect. She's lucky. And I live in California. Everything's expensive out here. So it's crazy to see that if we didn't have medical coverage, she'd be screwed. Some of these people don't go in to get tested because they can't afford to go in to even get the test to get done. I feel like any pregnant woman, I don't care if you doing dope. I don't care how you got pregnant. I don't care what your, social circumstance is, your money circumstance. Every woman should be able to have a healthy pregnancy if that's what they want. That's what they want at the end of the day. But you don't. You have all these people not going to the doctors, they're pregnant, then they're delivering, or there's just too much. It's just too much. And people don't take the time to find out. And we're so overwhelmed with everything that we feel like that's a small piece until something happens. Because I don't think if that hadn't happened with my daughter, I wouldn't have known that, they weren't paying attention.
And thank God they did say something. Who knows what happened? Yeah.
I told you I was. And my kids always tease me. They're like, "Why do you get like that?" Because you're my baby.
You're mama
I don't care how old. Right. I don't care how old you. Yeah, she's 27 now. I'm like, I don't care how old you are. I'm always gonna do that. But there are some people that don't have people there to advocate for them.
Yeah.
They don't know what to say, and it can be scary. You feel like this doctor has this degree, which means he has this intelligence. I don't know. But you know your body.
Right.
You know what's right and wrong in your body. You know when you're not feeling the way you should. And I think sometimes we belittle ourselves into thinking, like Alicia said, it's not that serious.
Right.
I'll be okay.
Right.
Until it becomes something else. I know you have other people. I'm sorry, Miss Buffy.
Mabel, I love you. Thank you so much.
I love you guys. And all the people that said I wouldn't.
Your perspective as a white woman.
Well, anything I can do for the culture, baby. Anything. No, but I get it. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Bye bye. Tell your daughter I said bye.
I will. Bye bye.
Thank you, Patty 718. A super chat. Oh, I'm getting super chats. Okay, we put our trust in these doctors, and unfortunately, some are not after our best interests. Say that. Do your research, know your body, ask questions, and speak up. Very well written, well stated. And again, it goes back to we don't have to be don't buy into these stereotypes that our skin is thicker than everybody else's and that we have to be so darn strong. Like we're humans. If you in pain, you in pain. Write down your symptoms so that when you get in there, if you do experience white coat syndrome, and the doctor's intimidating or being insufferable and demeaning, you still say everything that's on that list and you get it on the record. I've had experiences with my many attempts at trying to become a mother myself where I was told, well, you just need to lose weight. And I'm like, that cannot be the only thing that's wrong with me. So I lost a lot of weight, still had miscarriage. I just don't want to do the damn work sometimes. And I'm somebody that had incredible insurance and access to financial resources. And, they still just, it's because you're fat. No, it's got to be something else because there are people bigger than me to have babies every day. And it's just, they don't care. Some of them, they don't care. My city has free clinics. That's amazing. I think Atlanta does also. Please not be afraid to contact. Yeah, that's the job of the hospital administrator, other than paying bills in the hospital, is to pay attention to what's going on and for people to complain if they're having bad experiences with these physicians. And don't be afraid of them. See, a lot of people place these physicians on a pedestal because they're doctors. And a lot of these doctors have a God complex and thinking that because they can save lives, that they're near God. You a human just like I am, honey. And ain't no better than I am. And don't go in there building them up and believe in the hype. If they're not doing their job properly in your view, then you need to report them. You need to tell them. You need to hold them accountable. Because a lot of these doctors, they have these preconceived notions about brown and black women or people in general, and they allow that unknowingly to come across in their work. We've got somebody who wants to come in. Hi, how are you? Can't hear you. Redeem and weep. You got me on mute?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I was just calling into the show. It's an interesting topic. and I wanted to kind of share an experience that I had. I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old currently, and my experience for both of them was kind of traumatic, in the sense of when I had my first son, the epidural person came in, the anesthesiologist, and immediately you could just tell she was just not really happy to be there. I don't know if she was having, a bad day or what. The first epidural did not go through. And luckily, I had a Black doctor. A lot of my friends and my family are in healthcare, and they were saying, make sure you have a Black OBGYN. They take care of you a lot different. They're going to look out for you, just make sure. So I had a Black doctor. She was delivering other babies, and the lady didn't get the epidural in right. And what ended up happening was she was like, I can't do it. It's fine. You're just going to have a natural pregnancy.
What?
And I was like, that's not part of the birth plan that I went over with my doctor. And, we got to figure, this out. And she was like, well, it doesn't work for everyone. Black people, I'm sorry, she didn't say Black people. She said melanated people have a higher pain tolerance. I think you'll be fine.
Oh, girl.
Luckily, my mom and my husband were there, and my mom was like, what did you just say? And she was like, it's a known fact. I have other patients, and she left the room. One of the Black nurses that were in there with me was kind of like, oh, hell no, and ran out to go get my doctor, and she informed her of what happened. And you can hear my doctor in the hallway, like, what are you doing? Who do you think you're talking to? You're going to go back in there. You're going to do your job. I mean, she was just like giving it to her. So I'm uncomfortable now as a patient because I'm like, now this lady's gonna come back and she's really gonna jack me up. Like now I just feel like she's just gonna be really aggressive with it. So my doctor, she came back and she was like, she's coming back. Like that, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's not okay. She's coming back. So she came back, my doctor and mom's like, can you stay in the room? Just, so we have another party here that's not biased and you can just kind of follow what's going on. And the doctor, she said, sure. So the anesthesiologist comes back in and she's literally like shaking her head. She's so annoyed. Like, I mean, you would think like she's not getting paid to be there in her job.
Right. I'm like, you're doing your job. Why are you annoyed? Stay home. You want to come to work today.
Right. So
girl, I'm heated hearing it. Go ahead.
She comes in, she's annoyed, she's shaking her head. At this point, my husband, he's like livid. Like he doesn't like to see me in pain anyway. And at this particular point, he's just like trying to keep his calm. So she comes back in and she does the epidural and it goes through the second time. And the doctor looks at her and she goes, now, what was so difficult, that you couldn't do that the first time? And the lady was like, well, her back is crooked and she moved and, da-da-da-da-da.
Blaming you, the patient.
Yeah, blaming me, the patient. And my doctor was like, let me stop you right there, and took her out in the hallway. And again, they had words. I'm assuming she probably went and talked to, her boss or whatever. But being in that situation, if it was my first child, I was horrified to begin with anyway. But to actually have somebody like treat you less than at your most vulnerable state of like, there's nothing I can do. I'm hooked up. I got a baby in me. Like all I want is a healthy pregnancy and a good experience. And when she just said the comment of, melanated women, you guys have a higher pain tolerance, I was like,
and I got other patients.
Yeah. I'm like, first of all, how do you know my pain tolerance? To begin with, it is high, but I don't see anybody giving birth like, whoop, that was easy. All right.
Nobody.
Yeah. So it was just disheartening. Later on, the doctor ended up coming back in and she was like, this is the issue that, we have with some of the people in the medical field, especially anesthesiologists, is in their actual textbooks, which I didn't know that she said in their actual textbooks, it's actually documented where it says exactly what she said. It says melanated people have a higher pain tolerance and they're almost told not to give us pain meds as they would if we were one of their white counterparts. And I was shocked. I was like, how is that in the books? Like at that time it was 2018. I'm like, how is that in the books? And she was like, it literally, she's like, I lie to you not. And if I had enough time, I would go home, I'd bring you the book and show you the passage. And for me, I feel like, what can we do as a people to push something forward to be like, take that out? Because clearly you're misinformed. Clearly, you think that we're some type of special people to where we don't feel pain. We do feel pain.
Right.
If I get punched in the face and you get punched in the face, it's both gonna hurt, it's gonna hurt both
It
of
don't
us.
matter that I'm melanated. I'm still hurt.
Right. But it was crazy. No, it was just
I think conversations like this and brave people like you who will come forward and say what happened to them and be willing to share their experiences will bring light to this topic that we don't really talk about, and when we talk about it, then other people know that they can then say, oh, it's not just me. It wasn't just me. And they'll come, it's kind of, we have to talk about it, and then we can hold people accountable. The other thing is, I just, why we ain't suing these doctors?
Right.
I know, like, I'm not a litigious person, but if I'm giving birth to my child, I'm excited, I'm scared, and I'm mistreated in any way during that process, you's gonna get a lawsuit. Okay.
I wish I would have thought about the time, but it was so many emotions and just literally, shock. That it was just kind of like you said, it was crazy. And then it did help prepare me for when, I had my second son, but even still, it was kind of just like, it did kind of taint the experience a little bit. Like when most people can say, oh, everybody was helped. I did have great nurses. Like I said, my doctor was great. But just that one person really tainted the experience to kind of be like, darn, and my mom's like, I don't ever remember anything like this happening, and she's 60 something years old. And she's like, I have never seen anybody or hear anybody say anything like that in my life, while you're literally like on the bed, on the hospital bed,
in pain,
any moment, getting ready to have a baby. It was crazy. But I do want to say condolences, for your situation, because I know that's never easy. And I would like to just reach as many people as possible just to make them aware. I know, I'm in my mid-30s, and for me, if somebody would have told me stuff like, you hear about it, but when it happened, it was just like, wow. And just like no empathy, no understanding. No,
they gaslight you.
Yeah. And then to hear her blame me while I sit in the room, I was just like it was just like Twilight Zone. Like I was like, this cannot be happening.
Imagine how often that happens and there's not a Black doctor who is an advocate for you around. So what if there was another white doctor and you complained and they just agreed with the white, you know what I mean? Like, imagine how often that happens, probably.
Yeah.
And you just, it's horrible.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Is I went back and I told him, I was like, thank you so much for making me get a Black doctor. Like, thank you, because I kind of got a glimpse into what happened if, she wasn't there. Like you said, what if it was a white doctor? Like, I don't know. I don't want to think about what possibly could have happened, but there has to be something done as far as educating these doctors, taking out, ignorant, biased statements like that are taking people's lives just from ignorance, not from any type of fact or anything like that. So,
when they're supposed to base everything based on science and biology, not racism and prejudice. I think one of the main ways that we're going to be able to hold them accountable is, unfortunately, you got to hit people in the pockets. That's when they change behavior. They got to start getting sued, unfortunately, and then they'll change behavior. That's the only time in America that anything seems to work, unfortunately, is when you affect their pockets. But I really appreciate you for sharing your story, and God bless you and those babies.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thanks again for having this segment. I read it and I was just like, oh, I have to tune in because I loved you. Well, let me be honest. When Married to Medicine first,
I want to know. I like to tell me the truth.
When Married to Medicine first came out, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Who's this new person? I don't really know. Let me feel her out.
Then I brought Jasmine on and everybody hated me.
Yeah. Well, I'm not like a bandwagon type person. I'm kind of like, let me see the person. Let me see their personality come through. And I was kind of like, I don't know. And then you were just so happy and your energy was always good. And I was like, I really like her. And then as it kept going on, I was like, I really, really, really like her. And the person who I initially liked in the beginning, who turned out to be the not so nice doctor, that whole situation to me, I was like, you're such a better person than I am, because sorrow or not, that situation would have been completely different. So I commend you for, standing up to her and holding your ground and making the choice to choose you over money. I wish I could see more Black people step away and create platforms like this. Just because I think between Married to Medicine, the Real Housewives is really showing us in a deplorable light. We are feeding into everything that they think we are, how they think we act, what they think we want to see. And it's just kind of been a little sad to kind of watch. But I look at you, I look at Monique, and I'm like, yes, there are still good ones out there, and they're going to fight the good fight. And, good luck to you and all your future endeavors. Keep making that money, keep doing what you do, because people like me are watching, and it's inspiring to see people kind of take that leap of faith and just choose them. So thank you for
Thank you. That was so lovely. Thank you so much. I'm gonna be smiling all weekend. Now you made my whole weekend. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Luli, why are you crying, Luli? Let's see, y'all. I think I have time for one more question. We've been on for an hour. Y'all have been so great and so open. Come here, Luli. More of our Black women need to be educated about this so that they will know to speak up when things happen. Yeah. And also to know that they'll be supported and not judged for complaining. Because, we always get judged if we complain about anything. Child, we're supposed to just be stoic all the time. Thank you for doing this for us. Oh, thank you, Zoe. Thank y'all so much. I want to make sure that I got any questions. I didn't have a moderator today because my team is working on other things. Oh, here's someone. So true. I had a doctor with a God complex who rushed in my cervix when I had a cyst and other issues, who didn't like when I questioned him. Yeah, they don't like, and don't go in there, honey. They get mad if you come in there with, you looked up WebMD and all that, but I don't blame you. Do whatever you can. Yes, they love to tell you fat, honey. That's all they care. Well, you need to lose weight, Buffy. Then when I lost my weight and I still had a miscarriage, I was like, what now? Like, do your job. I'm paying all this money. Figure out what's wrong. I have tried acupuncture. I mean, if y'all got any other ideas, I'm 42. So I'm late in age, but there's still some time. I want to experience that myself. And some people say that that's selfish and that I should just hire a surrogate because I have the resources to do so. But I want to have my own child. What's wrong with that? So here's one more. I know we're talking about pregnancy. The problem isn't just OBGYN doctors. It's almost every discipline of doctors. Don't be afraid to report, sue, or expose these doctors. I agree with you 100%. Because they all get those same books in medical school. So you're absolutely, every specialty. If you're mistreated, if you feel unheard, because what I think we sometimes have this notion that doctors are like volunteering. We hold them this high standard because they save lives, but they're doing their job. It's their job. And so if you went anywhere else and someone didn't do their job properly, you would complain. So you have the right to complain when your life is at stake. My sister had her first child at 43. Thank you so much. Thank you, Christine Hall. Welcome. I got to come up with a name for my family of YouTube family. All right. Well, I've kept y'all long enough. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate your transparency. Tomorrow is always a rough day for our family. So keep us in your prayers. We're going to try to uplift her daughter and think about my aunt in her positive light. And, I'm going to clean my house and play Sade, which is what she did. She was a neat freak. Like I am. I'm a sling pine saw everywhere and play Sade and Maxwell in honoring her and her beautiful life and her beautiful children. I thank y'all so much today. And I think that I will try to do another segment on this topic and bring in some Black OBGYNs and other, maybe some clinical researchers, so that we can have, and I'll plan it in advance. It'll be on one of my Sunday shows so that you guys can plan to attend in higher numbers. So I appreciate everybody that came on today, and I hope y'all have a lovely weekend and stay home. This drama that's going on in DC, let them figure that out. If y'all follow my social media, I've been very outspoken about it. let them figure that out. That's their bed. They made it. Let them figure it out. We're gonna be fine. All right. I appreciate y'all so much. And I feel like I was able to honor Dede today. So, and you guys helped me. Bye.
Please crawl before you ball, and then take a little bit of the money and save it, and then do something before you ball. Because wealth whispers and money jingle jangles and screams.